guide our implementation, the delivery platforms under the NG Cares program, as usually called in the state as Bago Cares.
Exactly.
Yes, and it is funded through the Planning Commission from the World Bank. Most of our activities are basically for rural communities where poverty is highest in the state. Even though it's an old survey, the idea is to give them basic services, and these basic services include clean water supply, good schooling facilities, so that we encourage the children to go back to school. And then it depends on how the program goes every year. We have what we call funding.
The agency has been doing a lot in that situation, looking at some of these things you have. And from your findings, what will have been the reasons behind this rampant water transportation accident in Niger State?
Okay, maybe from here I'll put a caveat before I go into answering that question. I think Ministry for Transport has a better data on what the statistics are and what the reasons are. But from our own end, because of the way we do our implementations, we don't go to these communities in this 2024 as local government that is licensing good quality, safe boats that these people can be using, so that we can reduce this. What can we do to also alleviate? Because obviously, all this that we provide, there are certain riverine communities, and thankfully, Ministry of they advised us on what to do. Ministry. So far, when we looked at the data, night travel, because most of course, night travel, even on the roads, are dangerous, talk less of on the waters.
Exactly.
And most of our boats are not equipped to travel at night. They don't have the floodlights that will at least shine your way around, signs the hotspot, or you cross or suffer some kind of. Thirdly, even if they are not going to overload, they don't carry out other safety issues like life jackets, like have mitigation factors aboard the boats to help save people while you're at it. So those are the things we now realize that are happening. So we now decide, okay, what kind of things are we supposed to do when we are going to intervene in these places? We now realize we have to, if we are going to provide a boat, you have to provide something that can withstand time. That's one. Secondly, you have to add those mitigation factors. Give them life jackets, life buoys, so that you can even save others in case you pass by somebody having an issue with their boots, or they've fallen off, or whatever. Then you also have to provide other what do you call fire extinguishers, because anything can happen. Most of these engine boats use petrol or diesel, and anything could easily not. Starting from Agwara, local government, through Borgu, down to Mokwa, down to Lavun local government. They are mostly riverine communities. So those are the things we looked at and said, okay, fine, these waters are different. Some are coming from the River Niger, some of these waters are coming from River Kaduna, and they behave differently. Around the sides of Borgu, near the dam, due to the dam, so you have stumps around that. Unless they are at high tide, you have every likable chance that you are going to hit one stump or the other. So that was what informed us in saying, okay, what kind of boats can we go into? That was where we will go into the two, so that we mimic the behavior of both water bodies that we have in the state. Fourthly, the regulators are actually the National Inland Waterways Agency, that we have meet every regulatory requirement for them. We are still in the process of doing it, because we also have to, just like your normal road transportation, you have to register, you have to do everything. Currently, right now, and the consulting team that helped us build these boats are now in these various 5 communities, training the boat operators on how to operate, maintain, and sustain the boats, and also follow the safety guidelines attached to those boats.
Okay, how many boats were supplied?
Okay, let me start from the beginning. In January, when we got the first request, we supplied 10 boats. We took it as a pilot program to see the acceptability by the communities. So in this case, we got all the safety gadgets to it. We gave 10 communities at that time in 5 local governments. But then when we saw the data showing that all the boot mishaps happened on wooden boots, that was when we now decided, okay, we need to go further and study more about it. So now currently we were supposed to supply 10 boots, but due to funding we did 5 only, and we decided to do just passenger ferry boots. It is in the coming year. They also have plans on also improving our how do you call it, production capacity by bringing in foreign people. Why don't you train them into making better boots that can serve the communities? And then we continue sensitization along with NEWA on informing the communities about why it is important. It's just the same way as when they started enforcing the use of seat belts.
Yes, exactly.
A lot of people didn't want to be using it, but at the end of the day, look at it right now. How many accidents can you attribute deaths to not the use of seat belts? So it's the same thing. We are now carrying out more sensitization in these communities to enforce the use of life jackets. If you are caught with your boot without any life jackets, then you will definitely pay a fine.
Then it means that they are...
But it's also training what they call water vanguards across the riverine communities. The issue, I would like to commend the Commissioner for Transport, Hajia Hadiza. She has been our little policies that they have now started implementing. They are under training right now.
To move it.
Thank you. You see, these interventions, they don't just happen simply because it is needed. So before we set them up, everybody, because it is not owned by one person. Exactly. It is only when it is owned by one person that he can now decide, this is what I will do. But it is owned by that community. So the community are now our own vanguards, since we cannot be there all the time.
Exactly.
They are now told, this is what you need to do. And so that they are aware, if this thing doesn't work, the liability falls back on you. And part of it is us liaising with NEWA and all of that, getting them to be fully registered. The boat operators are current boats, and they can easily be found wherever they are at that time. So it is a give and take. We give them, they take it, and then out now. And because of course we can sometimes we call the communities if it is pertaining to either health or water projects or school projects. We pull them here and do the community training. It is usually a 3-day activity on why it is important for them to be able to sustain such projects. If they are able to sustain it, then it also qualifies them. Most of these kinds of boats anyway are, let me say, new, because most of their boats are not this kind, the metal passenger ferry boats. So we need to train the boat operators and then sensitize them again about why it is important that they don't overload. We have a capacity that they're supposed to reach. We have what we call the water line, where if you start loading the boat and it reaches that every passenger on that boat has their life jackets. Okay. So currently NEWA is also part of the team doing that training. The idea is to encourage the community. It's going to be...
Signs are already there to guide the boat drivers. You talk about most of them navigating the boats at night with no light at all.
That's why the trainings are important. It's part of the things that you have to now tell them. You cannot use these boats at night. They're meant for daytime activities. Our hope is that we'll go beyond that. The dream is to have even bigger and able to be used at night eventually, but it is a process.
The program is government stewardship, and we are looking at government agency in mitigating the water transportation accident that has become very manager of the agency, Hajia Aisha Abdul Qadir. You can join us on this discussion through the number 09038808888 to send in your text messages. You can view us live also on our Facebook handle on Prestigefm91.7mx. And before we pick the first call, because this effort that you have started appears to be very small. What?
Because without access to funds, all of this would not have happened. It would have just... agency has ever received the amount of funding we have received this step, and that is what we have taken now as Community and Social Development Agency. So, but I know that the government of former Umaru Bago will eventually do more through the Ministry of Transport, because they have collaboration with everybody, since it by itself cannot do it alone.
Exactly.
So before we came into play, Hyperdeck has already done something, and these boats are all going to this riverine community. So it is more or less like a joint effort by all the players on ground and the stakeholders around.
Okay, thank you so much. Like I said, you can join us on our discussion through the number 09038808883, and we are looking at the issues. And you have just said that which you are simply building upon.
Yeah.
Now, apart from this synergy that you have with the Ministry of Transport, what other related agency are you liaising with, all in an effort to ensure that this issue of water transportation accident is properly addressed in Niger State?
We liaise with the National Inland Waterways Agency to do, because in our own case we are just an implementation agency, but in doing your implementation you have to also, as we go into the new year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. And of course, now at every point in time when issues, okay, let's pick this call first. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Antala.
Morning, how are you?
Fine, sir. This is MD Awal from Kabul.
Okay, MD Awal.
Madam, you are highly welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Madam, because this issue of boat mishap that has been happening in Niger State, it has become a recurring decimal. And I know, Madam, you've been doing a lot, but you need to put more energy in traveling by water through night and in terms of this boat mishap.
Yeah.
Even if you provided them with the life jacket, most of them, they are not using it.
Yeah.
Some of them will just keep it inside their room as like fancy something, which is very, very unfortunate. But once you are bringing a sensitization to most of this community, let them know the kind of dangers of them as like applying the water without not using life jacket.
Yes.
So you should let them know the dangers, and for them to travel, letting them know the dangers involved in all this kind
From these interventions that you are doing in the area of riverine communities, what other interventions have you been carrying out?
We've been having a lot of interventions actually. I think the water transport just seemed to overshadow everything.
Yeah, because it's a recent thing, and you know it.
Because it touches a nerve, I
Exactly.
know. Okay, let me put it this way. We've done 2 cycles of intervention this year.
Okay.
Between January and June, we have intervened in 43 communities across Niger State, 10 of which were the initial 10 boats that we did school renovation, culverts or drainages. So far, I can say with my chest right now, I don't think the agency has ever intervened in that number of communities. That's just between January and June. And if we look at our data, the number of people we have impacted are around 205,000. Then between July and now, I don't know if anyone is aware of the groundbreaking 20 of them currently right now. 20 of them across 16 local governments or so. We have 4 in Lavun, Bako, we have Suleja, we have Gorara, we have Magama, Mariga, we have which other one? About 16 of them. These level 2 primary healthcare facilities that we are building are going to be game changers to the fore. Usually what we do as an agency are mini health centers. But we now realize that, okay, he brought to our notice that these mini health centers that we are building, most of the time, because we have a shortage of health staff in the state currently. Second is lack of commitment most of the time, because even if you send a staff or post a staff to such health centers, they find it hard to stay there simply because of what? Simply because there is no accommodation. That's one. Secondly, how much is the pay for them to leave where they are at to go to that place? So if we have this interventions going on through CSDA, why don't we cluster them and do one big health facility? That's a health facility. So that is what. So that is what informed.
A lot of intervention works between January and June.
Yes.
And you mentioned a number of communities. Maybe if you can cite examples with some few communities where those interventions have taken place.
Yes,
so,
yes,
the
yes,
listeners
yes.
will be curious to know which communities have actually benefited from these interventions.
Yes. Okay. We have where do I even start? Under the health sector, okay, between January and June, because this 20 number that I'm talking about happened between July and now. Yes. So between January and June, I think we've been in Rijau local government. We have the Jatawanka community. We have a primary. Then we have the local government. Then we also were in Borgu local government. We are the construction of a mini health center. We constructed a primary school in Edogiluko in Edati. Another reconstruction in Ejigi Kacha. We have another renovation in Bango in Boso. We have a lot of them. Company Waya in Kwantogura, Yinti in Kacha, Pandogari in Rafi. I think it's in Magama local government.
Okay, let's pick this call before we continue. Hello, good morning.
This is Jumo Hidris speaking from Beda.
Okay, go ahead, Jumo Idris.
Doctor, I want to appreciate her. And on behalf of Beda local government, we are appreciating her. Yes, I can testify that what she has been saying is very true. The last intervention that was given to these 5 local government or 4 local government, I was also present, the mother of the Zone K. So, Doctor.
Yes, sir.
Just like the way she has been presenting it, it is easier to manage animals than to manage human beings. It is what you say they will be thinking they are still wiser. But they are, what you have done for Peter, I've said it earlier, is the equivalent you have done for Zone A. Is the equivalent you have done for Niger State, because majority.
Go ahead, sir.
Calling from Boso Estate.
Okay.
I'm encouraged with the performance here. I think she needs to throw more light on this public health sector. This issue of open defecation. Most of our people, I think there is a need for them to set up a committee to go and look at the situation in our schools. Our children find it difficult.
Toiletries and facilities.
But then we can only, I think this was an argument, insist that you use it and keep it clean. You have to do your own. Exactly. So I think that is the part we are missing most of the time. The communities themselves do not want to take that upon themselves. We set up this community manager for the community. If we build it together, we keep it clean. If one person enters today and uses it, I hired because nobody is paying him. So unless the community themselves come together and rally around, even the schools too, that is one of the issues.
Communities.
But you cannot have a facility given to you or built by you.
Okay.
So, but we do provide all of those things. For each project, we do mitigation factors. That's we provide the wash facilities. We even consider
on our Facebook page from Jafar Ibrahim Bendiga. He's saying good morning to the guest in the house. He said, I'm commending the Niger State Community and Social Development Agency for tackling for protecting lives and livelihoods. Key areas to focus here include regulatory oversight by strengthening and enforcing the safety standards and regulations. Number 2, infrastructural development, upgrade jetties, terminals, and waterways. Number 3, public awareness, educate commuters on safety precautions and emergency procedures. Then number 4, operator training, provide regular training for both drivers and crew members. Number 5, emergency response, establish efficient rescue and response system. And then collaboration with stakeholders including local communities, operators and emergency services is vital. So part of his recommendation, he said, you need to conduct regular safety audits and risk assessment. Number 2, install safety equipment such as life jackets and communication devices. And then number 3, implement a reporting system for incidents. And then number 4, develop a statewide water transportation safety strategy. And number 5, engage international organizations for technical assistance. Niger State proactive approach will serve as a model for other states. Keep prioritizing safety and saving lives. Thank you and have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you so much, Jafar Ibrahim Bindiga. And I think many of the things he highlighted here, you've already discussed. Yes, of course.
The Ministry of Transport is already on top of it because, like I keep saying, we just do implementation, so we liaise with the regulatory authorities to carry on with the rest of it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, you can keep making your calls and sending your text messages so that we can give you the opportunity to come in and ventilate your opinion. We have another caller. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Dantala.
Morning, sir.
This is Santali Benjamin.
Okay, go ahead, Santali Benjamin.
Thank you very much. That's my GM there. I have sent her a message commending her response to all your questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Madam, well done. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you, sir.
I want to advise that it's better you define the scope of your operation and your intervention to people so that they don't to areas that you may not really, except if your intervention is all round.
No.
That is bad.
Yes, I've already.
Because somebody from the community say, okay, we want you to come and do a casket for us and all that.
I think she did that at the onset. She has talked about the limits of the intervention of the agency.
That's a very good one.
Yeah.
Then, based on communities that have received this intervention,
yes.
You know, people, when they get something free, they tend to abuse it.
Yes.
And they say in Freetown, nothing is free. Somebody paid for it.
Yeah.
So I want to advise that any community that has an intervention from your agency,
yes, sir,
you should have a monitoring modality of how they also maintain it.
Yes.
If they don't, in case of any request or intervention, that can be used to blacklist them so that people's resources are not wasted for nothing.
Yes, I think we have something like that already.
Okay, thank you so much, Santali Benjamin.
Including an e-department from the Planning Commission too does that. So we keep our statistics depending on how it goes. But I think so far so good. There are certain communities that have been excelling in terms of sustaining their own facilities. And let us not forget, some of these facilities can only be sustained by the communities with the support of the local government.
Exactly.
So if there is that go
forward,
yes, sir.
What is your dream of situating the agency in the midst of all of these interventions?
The dream is to make it like, okay, let me put it this way. The dream is just